On April 13th, Venus goes direct. Oh, the last planet to go direct. We will finally be out of Super-Retrograde. Hey y'all, this is Karma. Let's jump right into it. So this will be an April astrology report, but first, let's talk about March. Okay, March was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. I feel wrung up like a rag, okay? The retrogrades are tearing me up. You hear me? So I hope it treated you better than it treated me. So let's go ahead and recap all of what happened in March. Venus went into retrograde, then crossed from Aries back to Pisces. Then Mercury went into retrograde and crossed from Aries back to Pisces. We had a lunar eclipse in Virgo. Then we had a solar eclipse in Aries, which was the final solar eclipse until 2032. Then Neptune began transitioning to Aries. So that was a lot of energy shifts, okay? And I'm sure many, if not all of us, have felt these weird energies arise in our life. And I know for me in this particular moment, it is like, what is going on? Who set off a bomb? Who did that? Who did that? I thought I was going to get through unscathed at first, but no. So again, March was a lot. March was a lot. But honestly, the whole beginning of this year has been a lot, okay? So I want to take a step back. Sometimes we talk about these faster moving planets and the energy around them without putting them into focus as to what's happening in our lives long term. A lot of minor shifts that we are seeing in our lives right now are to support the shifts that are happening within these outer planets. Pluto transitioned into Aquarius at the end of 2024, November 2024. Neptune transitioned to Aries at the end of March. And Uranus will transition to Gemini in July of 2025. And those are our three most outlying planets that are responsible for the eras that happen in our lives. I know you guys have heard me say over and over again, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. But I really mean that, especially in these moments. We are all in the process of making big shifts within our lives, and we're feeling the pull and the tug of leaving the old things behind and starting the new. That is what a lot of this energy encompasses in the beginning of 2025. So when I am expressing the shifts related to the faster inner moving planets, I will try to point them back to why you should be looking at them in relation to the outer moving planets. Because again, these inner moving planets are shifts in relation to our long-term journeys. Now that we've gotten that covered, let's talk about what's going to be happening in April. On April 7th, Mercury goes direct. Oh, praise him. Okay, Mercury goes direct in 26 degrees of Pisces, which is the third decan of Pluto. And I'm sure many of us are going to be very happy that Mercury is finally out of retrograde. But we're not out of the tough waters yet. Mercury will still be in its fall in Pisces until April 16th. The Pisces flowy and imaginative energy softens the analytical and logical perspective of Mercury. This means clear communication and logic will still be off until Mercury exits Pisces. So this means that even though we are out of retrograde, by the way, again, it was rough. I hope it was not as rough for you as it was for me. We are not out of that foggy woodwork just yet. Mercury will still be in its shadow period until April 26th when it hits 9 degrees of Aries, where Mercury started its retrograde. As Mercury is going direct, Saturn and Mercury are in a conjunction with one another, and they are sextile to Uranus. So again, Uranus is one of those outer moving planets. The last time Mercury was in conjunction with Saturn was February 25th, about a week before Mercury went into retrograde. Think back to what happened back then. If your memory is anything like mine, then you might need to go to your camera roll, your text messages, your emails, your phone log, your Instagram archive, your Facebook, whatever you can to remind you of what was happening around that date. This would have been something that you observed or communicated around some sort of restriction or lesson in your life. Mercury retrograde could have brought back energy for you to address and restructure within that energy. Expect to see another highlight of this similar energy April 7th. On April 8th, Venus is in an exact sextile to Uranus. Now, this sextile lasts from March 27th to April 30th, but on April 8th is when Venus is in the exact sextile position. You will see opportunities that can help to create change in your life. Uranus will soon be transitioning to Gemini in June, so these opportunities can help support that shift, which again, in the grand scheme of things, just so happens to come as Pluto and Neptune are shifting into new energies as well. Pay attention to the opportunities. Change is coming with the shift of Uranus. These opportunities will show us where we are going. And Uranus's stay in Gemini will be captured while both Pluto is in Aquarius and Neptune is in Aries. So again, this change is a change to support the Pluto and Uranus shift as well. On April 13th, Venus goes direct. Oh, the last planet to go direct. We will finally be out of Super-Retrograde. Oh my God. Again, April 13th, Venus goes direct in 24 degrees of Pisces, again, the third decan of Pluto. And Venus will be in Pisces until April 30th. Fortunately, Venus is exalted in Pisces. The Venus love, beauty, and creativity energy is supported and softened by Pisces' imaginative energy. So while there may be errors in logic and communication because Mercury is in its fall, pay attention to how you're feeling. What is your emotional state like? In this moment, that may be more telling than how you are logically thinking about a situation. For the remainder of April and into May, Venus will be in her post-shadow period as well. So tread lightly. Again, tread lightly all the way to the end of April, okay? You may see reoccurring things, things that happened before Venus went into retrograde, then Venus going into retrograde. It's going to be a revisit of that similar type of energy, but this energy will be a little more free-flowing because Venus will be out of retrograde. Venus is sextile to Uranus, so these themes may be a little bit more forward moving because you will see opportunities arise into reality. Venus goes direct in the third decan of Pluto, so this energy will also be transformative. On April 13th, we have a full moon in Libra, 24 degrees of Libra, the third decan, which is ruled by Mercury. On the same day, April 13th, we have a full moon at 24 degrees of Libra, and that is in the third decan ruled by Mercury. If you think about a full moon, this is the moon that sheds the most light in the dead of night. It allows you to see things in the darkness that you would not have normally seen. This is why full moons shed light and awareness, and sometimes represent cycles of closure from its new moon, because the bigger picture is revealed, the picture you did not have on the new moon. The Libra new moon was October 2nd, 2024, and it was the last Libra eclipse until 2033. Can you remember what happened back then? Again, I'm going to urge you to go back to all of the places I told you before, your Instagram archive, your photo archive, your text message archive, Facebook, anything you can to remind you of what was happening around the beginning of October for you. The energy that pops up on this full moon will be related to what happened back then and will be a clarifying conclusion to that energy. Take your time in perceiving what is communicated and what you are observing, because Mercury is still in its fall and in its post-shadow period. So again, logic and reason will still be off on April 13th. Mercury re-enters Aries on April 16th. Hooray, hooray. Okay, because that means it left Pisces and it is no longer in its fall. Although Mercury will still be in its shadow period until April 26th, this energy might feel a little bit lighter than it did before. Your mind might clear up, circumstances might clear up for you. Mercury will be in Aries until May the 10th. Again, with Mercury coming out of its fall and moving into Aries, tension and confusion will start to lessen and clear up as the energy begins to move forward with the Aries energy. Mercury in Aries centers around action and new interests, exciting things, basically honing in on anything that attracts your attention. Aries is a fast energy, so make sure that you are not being impulsive. On the 16th, Mercury will also be in conjunction with Neptune. Again, one of those outer moving planets. Now, this conjunction lasts from April 9th through April 21st. The last time Mercury was in conjunction with Neptune was March 30th, while Mercury was in retrograde, and then prior to that, March 2nd. So again, you know what to do. Go look at your pictures, your messages, all the things to remind yourself of what you were doing or discussing or considering in that moment. This final conjunction of the year will provide more clarity on an already developing situation or situations within the retrograde energy, and also the new era shifts as Neptune transitions to Aries. You may see a change in your perspective as it relates to circumstances that are changing in your life. You may regain clarity on things that have come to revisit you in retrograde, or you may become more inquisitive about the retrograde energy. In the same area, Neptune is also transitioning, hence the conjunction. And that is a much longer lasting energy. So there's a need to practice patience and observation and not jump to conclusions too quickly. On March 18th, Mars enters Leo, and Mars will be in Leo until June 17th. Mars is a very masculine energy that is inclusive of your actions, confidence, courage, and desire. Leo energy is also masculine energy that revolves around charisma, ego, self-expression, flirtation, and drama. So this is a high time for action based on courage, pride, ego, both internally and externally. For the remainder of April, Mars will be in the first decan ruled by the Sun. So there is heavy emphasis on ego, attention, taking the lead, and self-expression. You could feel a surge of increased confidence and or creative, passionate energy. Things around you could also get really dramatic because ego and pride will be at an all-time high, supported by the aggressive energy of Mars. Be on the lookout for a more in-depth video on the explanation of this energy and how it applies to the individual signs. Next, we'll be talking about aspects. For my aspects, I set a 5-degree application in separation, so the date ranges I provide in relation to these aspects are measured by that 5 degree of separation. On April 19th, Mars is in an exact trine to Neptune. Now, the trine exists with that 5 degrees of separation from April 6th to May 1st. But on April 19th, this is when it exactly trines to Neptune. Neptune is in Aries and Mars rules Aries. Mars will also be in Leo. So this is a good time to take action on the energy you have been desiring. You may see initiation of energy that supports your shift into the next era of your life. Also, look out for the Neptune and Aries video that I will drop shortly after this one, probably about a week after this one. I will go into way more detail about these outer planets in that video so that you can better understand how these new eras are resetting your life and where they'll be resetting your life. Additionally, on April 19th, Venus is in an exact sextile to Uranus. Now, this sextile exists with that 5 degrees of separation between March 27th and May the 3rd, but the exact sextile will happen on April 19th. Sextiles represent opportunities presenting themselves in reality. So you may see some sort of change arise with the Venus energy. This could be within your attraction, love, relationships, or creative endeavors. Again, with this energy being buried near Neptune and its reset so that we can go into the next era of our lives, this could also be to support that energy. Additionally, on April 19th, Mercury is in an exact sextile to Pluto. Now, the sextile exists with the 5 degrees of separation between April 13th and April 25th. So in order to talk about this one, we must talk about the already existing aspects. Pluto is in an applying sextile to Neptune, and Pluto started transitioning into Aquarius on November 19th, 2024, and will be in Aquarius until 2043. Neptune began transitioning into Aries on March 30th and will be in Aries until 2039. These two planets, Pluto and Neptune, are going to be in a trine together that's going to last years. So this Mercury sextile Pluto aspect plays a part in that long-lasting Neptune-Pluto transition energy. On these dates, especially April 19th, I would advise you to look around and pay attention to the opportunities that arise for you. These opportunities could have an integral part in the shift in your life as Pluto and Neptune move into their new signs, which again represents a change in era for all of us. Take account of what's being removed. Take account of what's coming in. And take account of the things that are being communicated at this time. Because these are little breadcrumbs from the universe to show us where we are going. On April 20th, the sun will be in an exact square to Mars. Now, this square lasts April 12th through April 30th. Also, on April 23rd, the sun will be in an exact square to Pluto. And this square lasts from April 19th through April 28th. These aspects speak to change, tension, or conflict related to your identity, pride, ambition, or focus. It speaks to easily triggered egos, pride, and impulsive actions as it relates to something that you are seeking long-term abundance from. This could be in the realm of finances, values, lending and borrowing, resources, and even sex. There are many other positive aspects that are happening at the same time that can be overshadowed by your ego. So just take time to fully process what is happening around you before allowing yourself to be triggered. On April 24th, Venus will be in an exact conjunction with Saturn, and this conjunction lasts from March 28th through May 6th. Venus is a free-flowing creative energy, while Saturn is an energy of structure, discipline, and seriousness. I like to think of this as if I were to put this into an analogy, I would equate Venus to being like an art teacher who teaches painting and lets you express your creative desires, right? And then I would think of Saturn as being the detention overseer. If that makes sense, right? So, responsible for lessons and structure. So that's the difference between those two energies. So if I were to put it in that perspective, this energy can speak to lessons and restriction around creative energy. You may find a need for caution in this moment, or you may need to pull on lessons from the past to come up with a creative way to move forward in this energy. While these two energies are kind of opposing, the Venus and Saturn conjunction can be used to create some new, interesting solutions for forward movement by combining Venus's creative flowing energy with Saturn's caution, discipline, and persistence to overcome obstacles. On April 26th, Mars is in exact opposition to Pluto. Now, this opposition lasts from April 16th through May 7th. Oppositions can mean tension and power struggles, or balance and compromise. Is really your choice. Mars represents the actions and initiative you take, while Pluto represents transitions and transformations. This opposition speaks to standing in your own way by participating in power struggles or taking your time to find balance and compromise. Oppositions require us to pull on unused tools in our toolbox. As we transition with this Pluto energy, please be sure not to step on your own toes by not letting go of the past or old habits. Out with the old, in with the new, or better yet, part of the old and part of the new. Depends on the compromise. On April 27th, we have a new moon in 7 degrees of Taurus, the first decan, which is ruled by Venus. We talked about the full moon, so let's talk about the new moon. If you think about a new moon, you barely can see what is going on at night on a new moon because the moon is just like a little tiny sliver. And it's almost as if it isn't there. There's basically no light to illuminate the night. Ooh, bars. Yeah, I like that one. Similar to the beginning of a journey, you have no idea what's going on. You don't know where you're going or what's going to be highlighted on your path forward. This is why new moons represent new cycles and beginnings. There is so much energy on your new journey that is unseen. This new moon comes right as Mercury comes out of its post-shadow period in Aries, the day after to be exact. The new moon speaks of forward movement towards abundance on an emotional plane. This forward movement could be to support your material desires and possessions. This could also be around your sex life as well. With this new moon happening in the first decan ruled by Venus, this will be a heavy emphasis on the emotional plane because the feminine energy of Venus will be melding with the feminine energy of the moon. This will be a great time to set your intentions and clearly define your manifestations in areas of your life where you desire abundance. In addition to that, this is also a great time to define what you want to transition out of your life and what no longer provides you that abundance, so that on this journey it can be replaced by things that do provide you abundance. So if you want to manifest, I would suggest on the new moon you get yourself a piece of paper and you think about the things in your life that you want that can provide you abundance, whether that's a new job, a new car, a promotion, a new career, a house, whatever that is, right? And then you also talk about the things that need to fall away in order for you to have that. So if you are seeking more money, then maybe the place that you're working at has to fall by the wayside, right? If you're looking for a house, then maybe your way of spending and your desires to have luxury items in this moment may have to fall by the wayside so that you can save your money, right? So there's an emphasis here to look at this from both perspectives. On April 30th, Venus re-enters Aries after coming out of retrograde, and Venus will be in Aries until June 6th. Let's just say this period will be a period of shameless pursuit of desires because it's backed by Neptune in Aries, and Neptune also represents desires. Aries is ruled by Mars, which is a very masculine energy, and that opposes Venus's very feminine energy. Think of Venus as yin and Mars as yang, just like you have the sun and the moon. You have Mars, the masculine, and you have Venus, the feminine. This is why Venus is at her detriment in Aries. Her feminine energy is impacted and sometimes overshadowed by the masculine energy of Mars. In other words, the aggressive, bold, and courageous energy of Aries will impact the soft, sensual, feminine, emotional energy of Venus. This could be beneficial in some circumstances, and in others, it can be debilitating. This is the time to watch out for impulsive behaviors and lack of follow-through and compassion. But overall, this can be a period where you get things done. Venus represents love, relationships, art, and beauty. And the initiating Aries energy can help move things forward in your life. But as I said before, pay attention to impulsive behavior because the Aries energy can be short-sighted, quick moving, but short-sighted. So that brings us to the end of April. If you made it this far, I thank you so much. Please make sure that you subscribe. I will be dropping more videos as it relates to some of the energy I've spoke about in April because a lot of this will be a bit longer lasting than just April. So be on the lookout for those videos. Thank you for watching. Bye.